Thanks for tuning back in to The Wealth of Self. This is episode number 14, and I'm joined by a fantastic friend of mine from my days at the University of Missouri, Wade Kiefer. Wade is currently an IBEW 124 business representative serving counties in our home state of Missouri, as well as select areas of Kansas. Wade and his family represent a critical part of the American economic ecosystem, and what many would say is the bedrock of what makes this country tick. As a fourth-generation union member, his career path represents a strong lineage of men and women who built our country from the ground up, literally. Wade had a small-town, mid-American upbringing and really got his first taste of serious cultural exposure when entering his first college experience. While he was there, he studied political science, which was a decision that was partially motivated by his parents' desire for him to work outside of the trades, given his dad's firsthand experience with just how physically strenuous that lifestyle could be. However, as he neared his graduation time, he felt himself at a loss for compatible job options and elected to more seriously pursue a life in his family's footsteps of the trades. This decision has opened new doors and certain freedoms that many young people today aren't really as accustomed to. With sound advice from family, Wade made his first home purchase at only 22 years of age, electing to build his equity rather than navigate to a downtown living lifestyle in Kansas City that many decide to pursue. Wade also has dabbled in the political arena with positions on his local school board and a bid for state representative in Missouri. As a business representative of his local IBEW 124, his primary objective is to advocate for the working rights of his brothers and sisters, and his young, informed voice is helping one of the country's oldest and most revered sectors of our working ecosystem enter the digital age with a little more fluency. I'm excited to share this conversation with all of you and take some time to get to know Mr. Wade Kiefer. All right, welcome back from the intro. This is episode 14 on The Wealth of Self, and I've got a great friend in the studio. Got to be a part of your wedding party out in Los Angeles, which was wonderful, but we've known each other, since the infancy of our college days.
Over 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a while. When you put it that way, you're like, damn.
Yeah, I was like, ugh.
It's been a minute.
It has.
But you're in D.C. I mean,
Yep.
you're a Missouri boy, but you're in the capital for some work. And this is the second time you've come up, and I always appreciate whenever you swing by and we're able to link up. So we got together. Was it last night? Night before last?
Yes.
had a drink and just had a good time. And I just wanted to get you in here. You're not in often, so why not share your story while we're at it? So
All about it.
Yeah. But I wanted to turn it over to you for your own intro,
Okay.
Mr. Wade Kiefer. Let the listeners and the viewers out there know just a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Wade Kiefer from Kansas City, Missouri. Now I moved to the Kansas side, so.
I didn't
it's
know
fun.
that. You're
Yeah.
just on the other side then.
Yeah, so we're just on the other side. We're on, I went to Kansas. I'm considered a traitor to Missourians, but whatever. It is what it is, so it's cool. Grew up in northern Kansas City, kind of like the suburbs. We're actually kind of a small town, 10,000 people, so on and so forth. And then right now I joined the trades after college, so I'm a unit electrician, and then went through apprenticeship and everything, and now I'm a business representative, and for the local of Kansas City, which covers about 20 counties, 5 in Kansas, 15 in Missouri. I handle the politics and business development, but really, as all business agents, we all do it all. So, but that's the main emphasis.
Well, you and I have known one another for a significant amount of time at this point. And I reflect on my experience at the University of Missouri really fondly because I made some really great friends. And I think as you navigate maybe away from college experiences or even high school for some folks, it's like there's a big piece of that you sort of leave behind sometimes because, I'm East Coast here, you're in Missouri, and there's not a lot of overlap as far as geography is concerned.
Yeah, not at all.
But, you and I have been able to maintain pretty good level of contact over those years. I think right after college, it drops off pretty heavily where you're just trying to, like, figure everything out.
Yeah.
You're like, what the...
Life is happening.
Right. What the hell am I doing? But since that time and since some other big life events have come our way, I think we've sort of looked back and said, like, who were those people that, we really connected with? And you're definitely one of those people for me. But
no, same here, bud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of take it back because, for us, it was sort of a connection through our other mutual friend, Chad, right?
Yeah.
And that was where I got linked in with you. And Chad and me being roommates for so many years, it was just like, I know so much about him. And I at least feel like I know a lot about his story. But that's what I want to kind of go into with you because we've always been friends, but as far as knowing that like intimate history sort of thing, I don't know that that's been there for us per se. And maybe this provides an opportunity to dig in a little bit.
Absolutely.
But tell me about, growing up and some family structure stuff where you sort of became Wade.
So my dad, I think he had me at 39 years old. I think my mom had me, I think she was 22.
Yeah.
So I grew up as a single child, but I have a much older half brother and half sister.
We're exactly the same.
Yeah.
Much older half brother, half sister.
Yep. So I am the product of the new young mom in the family. So that's basically how I grew up. Single child, even though I had a brother and sister.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird coming from the wife is growing up with siblings and like people who are single are just weird.
Yeah, right.
I was like, I'm sorry. Okay, my bad.
Well, I really connect with you on that point because I mean, like my brother Mark and my sister Julie, my dad's first marriage, and it's not like they were around. Mark certainly wasn't there when I was little. He was doing his own thing. He was finished with college practically by the time I was born. And Julie was here and there, and we did some like family trips with her, but it was a single child in a house with mom and dad, and they were there like here and there.
Yeah.
But it was never all the time kind of thing. But I've gotten a lot closer to them since then as I've grown up. And I'd be curious to know how that's developed for you,
Yeah. So, we grew up pretty, Dad was, he was born in 53. Grandfather, my grandpa served in World War I. So you know how kind of the family raising is,
Yeah.
You fuck up, shit happens, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like today, it was my brother and sister, I feel like got the brunt, but I also feel like that's just growing up as a parent. You don't know what you're doing at first. You know how you grew up, how they were taught.
Exactly.
And so I definitely got it easier then, but growing up, I didn't appreciate it at the time. I was upset about it.
Yeah.
And then now 30, I just found myself saying the same things he said, and I was like,
"Apple didn't fall far."
Yeah, I was like,
"Sorry, man."
I get what he's saying. I was like, I was just dumb and naive. Yeah, so it's no, we definitely grown a lot closer growing up.
Yeah,
since I've grown up.
Yeah,
and it's been really cool. I mean, we hit on a lot more levels, and obviously, but also because I'm more mature and we can become more friends in that sense.
Exactly.
He was they were very much more, we're the parent, not your friend.
Yeah.
And then now that grown-ups, you can become friends. And that's kind of the beauty of it. So it's been wonderful to really hang out with my parents. I got much, much more closer. They did things that, like, no, you can't do. And then
all of a sudden
we're like, oh, so you guys been doing it. Now we can do it together. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Finally.
Awesome. Yeah.
Barriers have lowered.
Yeah. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But, it's almost you come too close of friends because now you're like It's like, I can't come over this next month.
Yeah, right. Wait a
You're
second.
not going to see your parents? And I was like, I'm sorry.
No, I got
life's-
stuff to do, man.
Yeah, I got stuff to do. I'm sorry. But
Yeah.
it's been really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I resonate with that a lot, you know, getting older and sort of maturing, but also getting closer with your loved ones. You know, I think growing up, Dad was always, he worked a lot, even though he retired at an age, because he's so much older when he had me, you know, he entered retirement basically when I was like in, I don't know, third grade or something.
Third grade,
yeah,
shit.
yeah.
Like,
my dad, you know,
my dad retired when I graduated high school,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he was third grade.
2001 was when he retired, and that was the World Trade Center. That all happened.
Yeah.
And I remember that distinctly because
was he a teacher though?
yeah.
So
science teacher.
they retire pretty early though if they do.
Well, 39 years. 39
That
years.
is a pretty long time for
My
a
dad's
teacher.
he's an old dude,
Yeah.
but he's still kicking. But
Yeah.
you know, I think for me, it's been one of those things where getting older and understanding yourself a little bit better. It's been like, you know, I can see so much of what my dad did over the course of his career and his life, and really reflect on it and appreciate it now. And it's just like brought me to a much deeper and higher level of admiration for the guy. And so,
absolutely.
but I mean, we're both Missouri guys, and you're still a Missouri guy, and I am at heart. I mean, DC is sort of a big office, it seems like, for me, but
Yeah.
I'd be curious to know what your experiences were growing up in Missouri, where you grew up, because I think you were probably a little closer to a big metropolitan space. Where I was in Salem, you know, it was really isolated. So it's not to say that we didn't go to Kansas City or go to St. Louis to visit, you know, family or friends there, but you know, it was the really small town experience versus being maybe just like geographically a little bit closer to a big metro center. So what was that like for you?
Honestly, I'm going to say it probably wasn't that much different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just as bad.
Yeah.
The same stereotypes you make about small towns was
Right there.
everyone's got a lifted truck, you know, got to get that Cummins diesel, you know.
Oh
and
my
I'm
gosh,
like,
yeah.
God. Which is fine, you know, cool. I like engines and I like cars and stuff,
Sure.
but like it's that same mentality, you know, same kind of stupid racism, same kind of
Yeah.
no idea of the cultures around you.
Yeah.
And going to college was a huge eye-opening experience for me.
Very much so. It was fantastic.
Yeah. My wife, who's Vietnamese,
Yes.
another, you know, like
Yeah.
there's maybe one black family, one Asian family
Right.
where I grew up. So like,
Yep.
even though I was so close to Kansas City,
Yeah.
you just stayed where you're at because the community have everything there.
Yeah.
So still not all that different,
Yeah.
honestly.
That's Salem.
Even
It hasn't changed.
Yeah.
That population just hovers right around
Yeah.
the same number.
I mean, it's blowing up that area
For sure.
just because of the growth, but it's still white suburbia.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and that's kind of a big problem when I served on the school board to the town next to it called Smithville. Or like, I mean, that's one of the biggest problems is it's still the same issues.
Yeah.
One coming down from the parents, and the kids just can't make the decisions for themselves because
Yeah.
they're not even exposed
Right.
to any different
Exactly.
ideas. And so they're
Yeah.
growing with that mentality.
Yeah.
And if they're a closed-minded person to begin with,
Right.
by that point, it's too late.
Yeah, it's too late.
So,
Solidified in the brain almost.
yeah, so if
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard. What are you going to do in these? You can't do it for every
Yeah.
small town.
Well, I had a guest on recently, and to that point, she made a really a great statement, which was that, you know, one interesting thing about DC is that it is so multicultural here. It's really culturally diverse. You can't walk, like you go down to the wharf here, and you can't walk 100 feet, and you'll hear 3 or 4 different languages. You know, it's
Yeah, no,
and
that's true.
Especially now with the whole cherry blossom thing going on. There are people from all over the world here right now. And that's you know, when you compare and contrast that to where you grew up or where I grew up, totally it's a 180.
Yeah, people will be like,
Wait a second. Yeah, exactly. So that's where, for me, this recent guest I had on, Randy Bryant, who's amazing, is she pointed out something really, really interesting because she grew up very close to like an HBCU. So she was exposed from a very early age to a lot of Black culture, rich Black history. And then, you know, moving just outside of that bubble into certain parts of Virginia, it was dramatically different. And the thing that she said that I found interesting was that it wasn't so much that those areas where she moved were not culturally diverse, but it was it wasn't intermingling in a lot of ways. So there were pockets of different ethnicities, but that was just it. They were just pockets. They weren't crossing over into each other's cultures in a lot of significant ways.
Well,
and so,
and that is true. Observational. I mean, even when I go in a room, that's what I'll do.
Yeah.
I'll, like, look similar to me. We can
Exactly.
we can probably resonate quicker than
Right.
me trying to say anything to anyone else.
Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, I think that's probably who we are as
as
human
humans.
nature.
Yeah.
So unless you grew up with that culture all the time, you just knew exactly how to start a conversation real fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though really, whether you're white or black or Vietnamese, same kind of outcomes are going to come. I mean, plenty of people, I'm like, man, I don't want to talk to this person.
I'm staying away.
I was like, no, but instinctually I just did it. So, it's definitely a fault with, I feel like, us, but it is just kind of how it goes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, you kind of navigated into the center of the state after high school. What did those couple years look like as you were growing up and going through high school? Like some of the things you were involved in or sort of interests from an early age? Because, you talk about what you do now. You're in the trades.
Yeah.
But you're college educated from a great school. And it's sort of like a lot of people don't necessarily take that path exactly. But I think maybe some things are changing now where people are understanding the value of the trades more. Maybe that's just my outsider's perspective looking in.
I mean, it's been the kind of new course of direction as far as it's like a pendulum swing, like America was all blue collar jobs. You could make a great living, right?
Right.
You didn't need a degree. College was, if you could do it in the 70s, 80s, great. You're going to be great, but you could also make a great living just going out working in the field or working at a manufacturing plant. Well, a lot of that moved. A lot of that's changed with globalism. And then, so everyone's like, college.
Right.
And that was a huge push, right?
Yeah.
And what do you know? Economy's not doing that great. You got all these kids with college degrees, tons of debt.
Bunch of debt.
All right, yeah, you can sell insurance for $30,000 a year. Cool. It's like, oh, sweet. That's my only job interview. Sweet.
I worked so hard for this.
Yeah, like, okay, cool. So, I mean, that was growing up. My family's been in the IBEW since World War I.
Yeah, that's fascinating, man.
Yeah, so fourth generation. IBEW's been around since 1892. So
just right after the commencement almost was when you guys got in.
We have people who've been in for 5 generations, probably 6 in some areas around the country. Yeah. But the problem is with the trades, your body breaks down. There's no one in construction who hasn't gone through at least 1 or 2 surgeries.
Yep. It's tough.
Yeah, it's really hard on the body. A lot of people don't even make it to natural retirement for an office job. They get out on disability because they're so broken down.
Yeah.
So, family's like, you're not doing this. So go to college, so on and so forth. Well, like I said, I'm going to go sell insurance or go work at this trucking logistics company for their... It was like, no.
I don't want to do that.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So, Dad said, well, join the trades. Even though he's the one preaching against it all the time. But
what did some of those conversations look like early on when they were sort of steering you away from it? Was it just the knowledge that he had being in it, that it's like it's a tough way to go? It is hard on the body.
It's hard on the body. I mean, it's not something that you love to do. I mean, it's not work. It's not like, he wanted something for me where, and Mom, they didn't want me to, where work was work,
Yeah.
I forget what the saying is, it's not work if you love
it.
If you love it, right. Yeah, they kind of wanted something like that, but they also pushed me to be pretty impactful. My family's they're not politically active, but they're political.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of always funny to me. They're like, if you want to do something about it, then do it.
Right.
But they just voted.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
They weren't doing it.
They weren't doing, they weren't going out running. We're not.
Sure.
But they're not. Dad's a construction worker. So if you say anything, he's very confrontational. So that's just not going to work for him. Mom, she's very sweet, but like she's not a very outgoing person,
Yeah.
you know, and I just kind of seemed to be a little bit of calmer on the confrontational side, but a little bit more outgoing, you know,
Right.
like I could, like, you know, this would be good for you,
Yeah.
you know, change
Yeah.
what's around you. So,
Right.
I always bought into that. It was like, you know what, actually, if I could do anything with my life, if I thought like I could do something,
Yeah.
whether people hated me for it or not, at least I felt like I was doing something good.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got onto the path of politics and did all, you know, did poli-sci.
Yeah, that was
Then you're like,
yeah.
oh, well, there's no jobs for this,
right.
unless you get a master's, and that's another $40,000.
Right.
So I was like,
Yeah.
no, I don't want to do that. But
Well, were there any other factors in there that sort of steered you into the trades? Because I know that was the thing that, you know, we connected on, because I think I had one intro to poli-sci class. It was really like low-level sort of requirement, if you
Yeah.
will, or one of those sort of classes. And I know you and Chad shared a number of different classes with one another, and I remember
Yeah.
study sessions and whatnot, getting prepped for tests. But yeah, that was, I mean, he definitely ended up in that direction. And
yeah, he went straight to DC.
yeah, after a certain point in time, though, I think, what was there a turning point for you over the course of your studies where you were like, this is not what I thought it was going to be, kind of thing?
Yeah, I would say I probably started applying like my senior year to stuff and just getting zilch. And so application for IBEW takes about 6 months,
Yeah.
right? And so I told Dad, I was like, I'm just getting zero.
Yeah.
Or I'm getting stuff, but it's just not worth the time.
Do you remember what some of those early applications were for you?
Yeah, I mean, just any large company. I was on Indeed, you know, anything. I was just saying government, political. Actually,
Sure.
I don't care. You know, I'll just want to be in the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, okay, I guess that's not true. Like a lot of it was just commissions,
Sure.
commission sales, and that's not me.
Yeah.
That's my wife's thing. She loves commission.
Yeah.
She hates the idea of a salary job.
Yeah.
Like, but that's her. She's a
Right.
great sales. She's way better than me at this stuff. But it's just not my thing.
Yeah.
I like to just I know what I'm doing. I'm grinding, and I'll just try to work my way up a ladder.
Right.
That's more my mentality. But it was that was kind of the turning point. So about halfway through, I was interning at Jefferson City at the Capitol, and Rudy Chavez, who was the political director of IBEW 24 at that point, and then Joe Runnians, who was a member. So IBEW tried their best to have representatives in the state house. So he was there, and they, I filled out the application in his office and turned it in. Then I had to go do an aptitude test, which is basically the ACT for math and reading. And then you have to do an interview. So 6 months later, I got accepted, so on and so forth. So I graduated. 2 weeks later, I'm on a job site, and I got like zero hang time to have fun after graduation. I just went straight to work
right away.
But but I was like, all right, at least I have a job because, well, I got a car payment coming. It's like
Stuff coming down
life's
the pipeline.
happening. You know, there's no time to waste.
Yeah.
So that was the main thing, just to make sure I had a job. But what was the great thing about it was you have a retirement you're working towards.
Yeah.
You have full benefits.
Yes, sir.
Health benefits. You know, I was like, okay, yeah, I will do
I
this.
can work for that. Yeah.
And then the schooling's free. It was another 5 years of school
yeah,
that
it's
I have to do.
What would you call it? A journeyman's route, or how would you?
So yeah, it's a Department of Labor. The unions have a Department of Labor accredited apprenticeship, but the apprenticeship is also through the IBEW is the most stringent because that's our selling point. Is we are the most qualified electricians in the world.
Yeah.
So that's why we do power plants. Anything that's super critical.
You know, in college, I did some different campus jobs, but I was fortunate in the sense that I was not somebody who had to work like a full-time thing. In college, it was like studies. That was it.
Yeah.
And I know other people, like yourself included, you worked a lot during your college experience.
Yeah.
To the tune of, full 40-hour weeks on top of your coursework, and then dialing that back a little bit. But
I had to dial that
I
back.
mean, I think from that conversation we had before we started recording, it was kind of like those things in certain ways maybe prepared you to sort of jump in right after graduation.
True. Yeah.
A lot of folks they've got that weird lull right after they walk, and get the diploma where it's like, where am I going? If they didn't do their due diligence with applications ahead of time.
Yeah.
But you kind of just went right into it. And from my perspective, throughout college, I always recognized that you were always doing something. You know, whether that was you're involved with the cheer squad at Mizzou, which was really cool. But when you weren't studying, you know, you were out, you were working, you were doing something. So
I
always looked at that and I was like, man, he's staying busy, whether you really like that or not.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, no, and as growing up, that I kind of realized that's just something. I think it's just part of me, and I think I got that from also my parents. I mean, there was no chill days on the weekends. It was, all right, something's looking weird on the house. We're going to go fix it. And I was like, looks good. No.
Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, the car, you know, could be good tune up. So,
right.
You know, I always wanted to have a chill weekends growing up, but I guess it wasn't a part of me.
Wasn't in the blood.
It wasn't in the blood, but yeah, I don't know. I would say I was really more jealous of people like you or like the people who went on vacations, because I was always working. Like everyone on spring break, they went whatever, you know. They're like, I have $10 to my name, but I'm just gonna bum a ride to Panama Beach.
I never did the PCB thing.
Yeah, I was like, how do you do that?
Yeah,
but I was like, no, I'm just gonna stay and work and clean toilets. So cool.
Enjoy yourself.
Yeah, enjoy yourself.
On the sandy beach there.
Yeah, you know, people are like, oh, I sold my TV and so on, and then I'm going to go travel. I was like, man, that is so cool.
Enjoy.
And I just never did it. And it wasn't until I met my wife, which was 5 years ago, but I never saw the ocean until 2 years ago. And I'm 30.
Wow.
Like, I just worked, never vacationed.
Yeah.
I mean,
But it set you up, though, because, I mean, like, transitioning a little bit into some other things, at least, you know, these are, again, observations.
You went to South Korea. That was cool.
It was. It was a blast. Like,
and lived there. Like, I always wanted to just get up and move.
But it was work. It was work and live, you know. So it was like, I would say it was pretty minimal level of work, which was fantastic. It was why I did it. You know, it's like I knew there would be, you know, an abundance of free time if I made that decision. Certain things would be taken care of financially. Housing's good. You know, you eat at the schools. Fine, that's great.
Yeah,
I can pocket that money. I can buy. I bought that in Korea. You know, I bought that in Korea, and I've had it for 6-7 years, right? So these early investments are still sort of generating in content in this case for me. But you know, I think for you, it was one of those things where as I reflect on your early pathway, like you became a homeowner at a really early age. And I think about myself even now, you know, I rent this space, and that's where I'd love to get to a point where I can, you know, buy a home. And I'm sort of in this position now where with Cheryl, you know, I definitely want to make that decision jointly because we are geographically separated. Yeah. It's kind of like, do you do that here? Do you do it back in Missouri? Do you do it up in Canada?
Yeah, because you guys are separated geographically,
right.
So it becomes much more complicated.
Yeah. Hey, and Ryan Reynolds is apparently going to build a big production studio in Markham. In Ontario.
Is he?
So Cheryl made sure she sent me that article today. She was like, "Did you see this?" I'm
like, oh, okay, well,
all right, a little more incentive.
Yeah,
but I think that's another thing I wanted to hit on with you because I feel like, especially given the history of what your family was involved in with the union, being generationally involved in something like that, you know, there are certain ways of doing things and mentalities that sort of accompany somebody who is involved in that sort of atmosphere. And I think that trickled down to you definitely because, you know, from an early age, you made that home ownership decision that it kind of set you up pretty nicely in certain ways.
Yeah. And it's, again, I got to go back to the parents. So as electricians, as union tradesmen, we're well off. I mean, the whole point is we make enough to live decently. You know, we're not asking to be rich.
Yeah.
But, you know, we just want to take care of our family and live a decent life and just go in peace at the end, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, some of us are terrible with our money, and, you know, and you see that over time and time. And so they were like, the best thing you can do is invest early.
Yes.
And I really couldn't even afford that house.
Yeah.
When I got it, like I was maxed out on my. From the lenders, like, you can't go anymore. I was like, all right, well, this is it. Like, this is the only really good house, anyways.
Yeah.
But the point is, you just build equity. I mean, it's really taking advice from the elders because they didn't have a home that early.
Right.
I had a home at 22.
Yeah.
I don't think they had a home until they were in their 30s.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, the economy was a little bit different back then, but I mean, that's the main point. You listen to those who've gone through it, and they're saying, "I did the same thing, and I regret it." I'm like, okay,
maybe make a change.
I will make a change. You're like, yeah, cool. It'd be cool to live downtown Kansas City for a little bit.
Yeah,
spend all my money at the bars and be miserable at work the next day. But I was like, but if I didn't listen to them, the market's growing so fast, I wouldn't have been able to afford it, and I would have been stuck in an apartment.
Yep.
I would have not have built equity, and I would not have been able to sell the house and make a bunch of money off of it to put down towards another house and pay for a wedding and a new car. Right. So like, I mean, it's seen a lot of people who've put themselves in a good position and ruin it, and to not repeat those mistakes.
Yeah. And
so I think that was really good, and I'm glad I did it. And we sold the house in 2020. Thinking the market was gonna, and we misjudged because it's still going, and so lost out basically. Like I'm paying more for the house but it worked out. I'm still back in a house now.
You did gain overall though, right?
I did gain overall. Yep.
It's not as big as it could have been, I guess.
Just not as big as it could have been, but we're happy. It's just her and I, and so we don't need anything huge. We just wanted a decent sized home.
Yeah.
To entertain people. And if we have a kid, we have a kid. So it worked out. So to be 30 and be in that position is actually pretty awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to say thanks again for your viewership on the Wealth of Self. If you're enjoying this content, please give this video a like, and don't forget to comment down below if parts of this conversation are really resonating with you or maybe even somebody you know. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and you'll be among the first people notified whenever new content is released. Additionally, if you'd like to support the Wealth of Self's mission, there is a Patreon link down in the description where you can become a monthly supporter. Behind the stories, there are a lot of cameras and lights and audio equipment and everything that helps these videos come to life. It takes a lot to run all of that consistently, and your support makes sure that we can regularly release these stories. Finally, if you are a photographer or maybe you're interested in video production and you'd like to learn more about the equipment that we are using to document these stories, you can check out the kit.co link also in the description. Any purchases that you make there will earn a small commission for us to keep on telling these stories. So without further ado, let's get back to the interview. Well, I want to segue a little bit because one of the things that I think a lot of listeners would be very curious to know more about is your involvement in the union space. And I think conversations that I've had with family members, people I'm close with, there is definitely a division in this country about those who are very supportive of unionization of workforces and those who feel like unionization stifles progress in some ways because resources get sucked up and there's no way to push a project forward without accountability because other things get slowed down by the unions. And I mean, you're on the front line of that. So I think as with most issues in our country, it's a situation where, we really all want the same thing. Yeah. But our political affiliations and these other outlets that are sort of speaking into our ears have ways of saying things in a manner that makes it feel like what you want is really different than what that person wants. Yeah. When in fact, it's not terribly different in the first place. But before we ever recorded, this was 2 days ago, you sort of articulated some points about why unions exist and why they are good for workforces that I think a lot of people would benefit from hearing. But I'd like you to sort of maybe take it from both sides.
I'll
So some of the stuff you hear in the opposition, and how you might counter that as somebody who is a proponent for the unionization of labor and workforces.
Okay, so I got to get like a couple broad ideas out first, because people think union and think just one big brush.
Sure.
People have to realize a union comes in many different forms, and in different industries, it means different things. Mm-hmm. So like I'm a construction union, building trades union. So we build houses, we build commercial buildings, so on and so forth. There's teachers unions, there's manufacturing unions, there's trucking union. I mean, it's so diverse. And so in every industry is...
Yeah, there's creative union. There's
there's a artist guild union.
Right.
I mean, the point of a union is I am the employee and I deserve a voice where I work. I get to at least somehow, I want to elect someone to negotiate my contract for me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's essentially the nuts and bolts of it. As a worker, you should have a voice. But so you get hired, cool, whatever, but you want someone to say, hey, cost of living's going up, insurance is going up.
Yeah.
How can we work together? Productivity's going up in the company, so I want to see a little bit more.
Yeah,
if you can.
Right.
That's kind of the basic bits and bolts. Like some people will say, my union fucked me. And it's like, well, did you partake in it? I mean, were you watching it for the last 30 years? You just doing your thing and just, paying your dues and whatever. Mm-hmm. And then, but you're not paying attention to your own, because so say I'm IBEW, right?
Yeah.
There's hundreds of IBEW locals, and each local, it's very decentralized. I'll say that.
You're right.
So it's all based off your little subdivision. Yeah. Right there. So if it's not going well and you guys aren't participating, then it will go south.
Yeah.
If you're not watching it closely.
And what about some history for people who are unfamiliar about unions in general? I think there are some great books that are out there that describe the jungle, for one. Why did a labor union start in the first place? There's some good rationale to it.
Yeah. Okay. So one thing we never learned in our history classes is how we treated workers. It was really only 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Literally 100 years ago, we killed women and children and people working because they struck against mining. They were working 16 hours a day. Their family and kids were, just intense outside these mining communities, for example. And the companies would hire basically militiamen of some sort. You call them Pinkertons and stuff like that. And they were enforcers. Yeah. And then police were on their side at that point. And they would, if shit got out of hand, they shot them.
Right.
Kill them. That's where Labor Day came from. Was from massacres like that.
Yeah. That's a forgotten history fact that, it's maybe a cold reminder of what can happen when you go against a powerful entity's will.
Yeah, that was kind of the Gilded Age. Companies got too powerful. Stock market crashed, all sorts of stuff like that. Monopolies. You could go on for hours, and really a history professor would be better than me.
Right, yeah.
But so the IBEW really started as when we're building electrical lines. It is still one of the top, I think, 5 most dangerous jobs in the world is being an outside electrician.
Oh yeah.
Working on power lines. But the whole point of it was to just be able to bury the dead for their families, because they made not enough money to even bury themselves with dignity. And so that was the whole point, was for people to just, everyone pitch in. And then if you're a card carrying member, so many, and we still do that today. Every time someone dies, we pay an extra $5 on our dues. Yeah. And that goes towards their death benefit. Yeah. But that was the start of it. Really just to bury someone with dignity. Wow. And then it eventually progressed into, and it's there's a non-union and union side. We would love to have everyone be union, because we feel like everyone has at least a voice. Right. I will never be shy about that. I'll always be proud. Like, yes, I want someone to have a good job. I want their family to be healthy. At least have the opportunity, whether they mess it up themselves or not. Like,
Right.
fine, but give someone the opportunity, give them the chance.
Yeah.
But we need business. So people look at us big bad business. It's like,
Yeah.
if you are not building anything, we are not working.
Right.
Like, that's not how this works. We're just say, let's play fair.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to lay off a 30-year company, have increased profits from last year and give your CEOs, I'm like, yeah, probably not cool. Like, I get it. I mean, it's a stock market, it's the economy.
Right.
I dabble in the stock market, and I want my stocks to do well too.
Sure.
I mean, that's where all our annuities and pension. I mean, not our pensions, but like our annuities and 401ks. Like, we need that to do well as well. So let's just be fair. We're not trying to take away from anyone.
Sure.
I think you gave me an example the other day about someone in a manufacturing.
Sure.
If you could play that back for me.
That's a good point. So, this was a conversation I had with my brother. And I hope that Mark will watch this and just, give his honest feedback. Like, he doesn't have to change his position. You don't have to change your position, but it's a conversation first and foremost. And I think that's where a lot of people get hung up on this because they don't know. I'm one of those people. Like, I don't know it well enough to be able to make an informed decision, but having this conversation is going to give me some info,
a little bit more info,
and be more informed in general. But Mark works for a company in Georgia. They do a lot of like conveyor belt work and that sort of things, and he's high up in that company. And one of the anecdotes that he shared with me was essentially a worker who was at a bread factory. So you think, bread probably needs a conveyor belt, right? So that makes sense to have that in a factory like that. Forgot a critical ingredient in the batch for the day, and next thing you know, $300,000 of product is going into the dumpster. Yeah. So that day is lost, and this individual, according to what he said, is losing a day of work, and it's a paid day off, essentially. Okay. So how true is that? I don't know. Maybe that's something that was directly experienced, or maybe that was a story that was heard from elsewhere. But I think, a lot of times when we make an argument for a specific point, we choose to we choose a situation that sort of hyperbolizes, like a bad thing or a good thing. And that's the same situation with online reviews, right? You see 150 5-star reviews, see 123 1-star reviews, and there's nothing in the middle. So it's very bimodal. But, for an instance like that, what do you say to somebody who might, bring that up as a point of argument to say, look, unions are bad, and here's the example I'm giving you for why I think that is.
So that's a manufacturing union. So they probably work differently than what I know.
Sure.
From if I did anything less than $3,000 worth of damage, I would be let go. And my union would be like, well, you messed up. And as an employee, we're like, yeah, okay, cool, I get it. Right. So, one, I'm not there, so I don't truly know the full situation. We're hearing it, you know, second hand, third hand, who knows?
Sure.
So, if what cracks me up is if that's the true case, then that means, one, they had to have negotiated and agreed on a contract, because that's everything about the union. Sure. We're a contract. Yeah. That way there's no gray area. So, I mean, that's our whole point is, so for example, with us, say a company goes under, right? And they didn't pay the benefits. Well, it's in our contract. You're supposed to have so much money to pay up these benefits if that's about to happen. Right. Well, they say, we're not paying you for the last 2 weeks. We're like, sorry. Well, it's in the contract, so right there. We're going to get it. We're going to liquidate. It's legal. It's binding. We try to eliminate as much gray area as possible, so that way it's clean and clear. Right. It's just better for both the employer and the employee. Right. So if that was the case for that worker, then the company agreed if someone messed up that bad to let them just have a day off. I was like, well, I don't see it like that though, because that would just seem ridiculous that that's inside of a contract. Yeah. And I know like the movies will portray of like remember ex-girlfriends would watch like CSI or whatever.
Sure.
You know, he murdered a dude and the union guy comes in. It's like, if the dude murdered someone, yeah, put him in jail. Like, we're not going to come save this dude. We're like we deal with.
It's a poor reflection on you guys, right?
Yeah,
As a
it's
union,
like,
so.
It's like, no, was he on the job site doing electrical work? No. Like, all right, he murdered someone, put him in jail. He's a bad person.
Yeah.
Like, it's not our role. People think we're just like bully pulpits, and it's all contractual. If it's outside the contract, then we lose the grievance.
Right.
And so, no, we're not here to, I don't know. If it's in the contract, we support our members because that's what we do. But if they mess up and it's outside of the contract, and it's like, well, man, you did a boo-boo.
Yeah, sorry.
Back on the books, we'll find you. We'll try and help find you another job.
Right.
But that's about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
Well, what's the current state of the union, State of the Union? Different situation. But as somebody who works as a freelancer, you know, there are people inside of the creative industry that I work in with camera operators, grips, gaffers, people who work on film sets, and same situation, right? Because the movie industry in its infant days, tough, you know, long days, and depending on the production, these people could be out there 16 hours. Yeah. Right. And then you're missing a lunch break. You're going straight through. You're trying to make the last cut. It's just like running people into the ground. And at a certain point, same situation, right? People stepped in and said, look, we need to control this work environment a little bit better so that we can extend the careers of these individuals and maintain membership so that people want to come back and work on new productions. Otherwise, we're going to scare everyone away. And so there are people who do camera operation and are part of Local 600. Same, you know, IBEW, Local 600. You'll see that badge on certain operators' websites and whatnot. But when it comes to where the world is with so many people freelancing and improving their communication skills using social media, you know, you can get a new client through an Instagram message now. It's like the opportunity for people who are savvy enough to work independently of companies and independently of unions is there. So when it comes to how the union is trying to make sure that they stay relevant and attract new members, what does that look like for you guys? And is it a constant battle, or is there still an attraction from young, new people who are entering the workforce? How does that play out?
Oh, yeah. So I guess, you're kind of talking about almost like gig independent contractor.
Sure. Yeah.
I guess my thing is, are you giving a contract to sign to whoever's employing you or paying you at that point? Or are you just...
I try to. Not everybody is up for it.
Exactly. So say you weren't represented by a union. Yeah. That person would have to sign that contract in order to employ you. That way it's a legal binding contract. So you do all this work, you know, they stiff you somehow. Yeah, well, you're SOL.
Right. No one's standing up for you.
No one's standing up for you. And that's kind of, I'll try to answer it all at once. It's kind of like how a teacher's union is. Right. It's teacher's union is basically a right to work spot. So right to work means you get all the benefits of a union, but you just don't pay the dues. So you're basically a freeloader. And so, but it works a little differently with public sector unions like them, because so say, the union negotiates a contract, they get raises, so on and so forth. But say, you know, some kid says, oh, you know, he's a pervert, but you don't pay, you're not part of the union. The union will not support a pervert. They will do their own internal investigation, right? Yeah. But if you're not even a part of it, or you don't pay, we're like, on your own, buddy.
Yeah, you're out of luck.
But as far as unions, I mean, this is the first time in a long time unions have been accepted, like by 70% of the, based on polling, you know, under black people 35 and under, they're considered favorable, which is excellent. We have so many people in our industry. We can only take about 120 applicative apprentices in our local a year, and we probably get at least 800 applicants.
Wow. So it is selective then. What are some of the criteria there? I mean, you talked about early on an aptitude test and certain other qualifiers.
So what we try to do, it's really just best qualified. So we will do the aptitude test, obviously, and we will do the interviews. But I mean, we're getting people with bachelor's degrees, master's degrees.
Yeah, wow.
People who've been non-union for 10 years, so they got the experience to do it. They have to go through called the examining board just to make sure, you weren't doing just one thing, because what we try to say is we can do everything.
Right.
So if you just did 10 years of one single thing, but you're not adept in anything, then because the point is, when any contractor wants to hire out of us, they at least get the same product employee to a certain degree. Right. That makes us very mobile. So we go through that process, but I mean, we love, everyone's like, high school kids want to do it, and that's great. But like, now we have everyone else who's trying to jump on, because in Kansas City, our total package is over $70 an hour, 45 take home. You have 5 retirement plans, families taking care of you, your kids, your wife, everyone. I mean, people are realizing in their 30s, this is what I should have been doing. This is what I need. People don't do this anymore. They're not taking care of our families.
Right.
And so it's been a huge increase. And luckily, with all the bills that have been passed, Infrastructure Act, CHIPS Act, I mean, it's tons of money are coming down. Businesses are just billing like no other. And so we need them, which is great. And so it'll be a very interesting 10 to 20 years. We have so much work. It's it's funny. Like, I got in this position because, when I was asked to, but I was like, all right, cool. I don't have to worry about getting laid off anymore. But now it's like, you can make $300,000 a year if you want to work 7 days a week for 12 hours a day, which is impossible.
Burn yourself down to the ground.
You'll just be burnt to the ground at that point. But I mean, even if you took, there's so much overtime. You could live easily, and then you can go vacation with the family, but you're still going to be burnt out, where you're still working 60 hours a week. But, that's just what the jobs require. These companies want these 3 million square foot manufacturing buildings done in 2 years.
Right. All the Amazon warehouses, all the huge manufacturing plants.
Yeah, so like Panasonic battery plant that builds batteries for Teslas.
Oh, wow.
Straight off the ground, they're wanting new, and they want to build their first battery in under a year and a half, and that's unheard of. So it's two shifts of probably 600. I don't know. I would say 600 electricians per shift, 12 hours each, back to back. Just round the clock construction just to get this going. And so that's an insane amount of overtime. But they're getting a bunch of money from the government to do it. Our taxpayer was like, okay, that seems fair. It's our money.
Sure.
So it's been a huge insurgence back again.
Well, I wanted to sort of go back just a little bit, and hopefully by going back, we can also look forward. But this is, you had a very interesting go at a political run relatively recently. And it was inspiring to see you do that. I was sort of a viewer from afar while you were doing that. But it was just cool to see you really go for something, politically. It sort of, I think it kind of harked back to your education. So in certain ways, that was like a combination of your academic pursuits, and it was also motivated, I think, by some of the professional work that you've done, and also your involvement with the union. But I'd love to hear more from you on, the motivations behind that, and maybe, take it a step further and let us know, does that transition now to you doing something similar in the next 4 or 5 years? But
possibly,
you talked about some challenges that accompanied that with not being able to work while you ran kind of situation. So
So I guess, all right. So as an apprentice, I ran for school board in the town I resided in. I lost.
Was it close, or at least? Or?
No. There was, I think it was for 3 positions, and there were 6 of us running, and I was running against 3 incumbents. And they were good school board members. So this was in 2016. I believe this was 2016.
Was it that long ago?
For school board, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 2016, because I ran again the next year in 2017, and that's when I was elected.
Yeah. I was either out here in D.C. or I was in Korea. One of the two. Either way, I was only seeing it online.
Yeah, I think you might have been in Korea still. So ran that time, less competition. Actually, I think 0 incumbents on that one.
Nice. That helps.
Yeah, so 3 of us, people already knew me because I ran again. And so it worked out well. And main reason was just to make sure, one, it was a different perspective, younger, for one. 2, they were building schools, so I wanted to make sure they were built well and with the right kind of labor. There's a lot of times in our construction industry where our taxpayer money comes in the form of TIFs to incentivize projects, and or really, I mean, it's a federal project. It's a school, and then contractors will hire out illegal immigrants and make them 1099s and really abuse them. Yeah. And so, one, watch out for that. But no, in the school district, they were fine. There was none of that going on. But still, just to be an oversight, offer a different opportunity. And also, people thought was weird is I didn't have kids. But I was like, one day I could.
Was that a big strike?
Yeah, people.
Wade's not a family man.
Yeah, people did not like that I didn't have kids and I was on the school board. I was like, I'm not a weirdo. I just care about my community.
Right.
Like, that's all.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then it turns into 2020. So I'm about to basically stop being a school board member because they're 3-year terms.
3 years. Okay.
So I ran for a state representative and in a district that I knew I was going to lose in, but that was fine. I just wanted to make sure someone was on the ballot, but I wanted to offer a different perspective. I was a construction worker. I was literally basically a constituent, who we are. We're a commuter community, and we're a lot of blue collar workers, right?
You're the real fabric of the town.
Yeah.
So.
Well, so I thought, but it was it was during Trump. It was all drain the swamp, and then like the guy they elected was literally worked in DC or worked for a congressman for all his life.
Really?
So I was like, well, I guess it doesn't go too far. Sure. That's when you really realize it just DNRs, and then whatever else, it really doesn't matter at that point.
Yeah.
And so no matter how hard I try to say, hey guys, whether Democrat or Republican, I'm still one of you. I get your issues. I've been laid off. I got laid off working on the campaign because I was missing work. Yeah. And so they were like, well, you're not here to perform. See you later. The union didn't come in and save me. Like, it would make sense. I'm not there to make a money. Right. So, I got laid off. Cool. I was just fortunate enough that it was during COVID and it was high unemployment.
Sure.
So it allowed me to at least pay for the house, or else I would have to leave the state to work somewhere else in the country, which when I lost, I had to.
Yep, you ended up going out to Illinois, I think.
So, I went to Illinois, and we worked on the Rivian car plant. Yeah, in Bloomington, Illinois. They bought an old Mitsubishi plant that had shut down in the 90s and revamped it. Right. And worked a ton of hours.
Yeah. I remember you couldn't talk a whole lot about it at that time, but I got a lot of Snapchats from random motel rooms. Stuff like that.
Like you're living in a hotel room. That's the thing about it. Like these areas need these big projects to be done on time, right? And so that's the great thing about us, the IBEW. We can travel all over the country once you turn out. That's how we man big projects across the country. So there's not enough people in Bloomington, Illinois to man this project, which was also day shift, night shift. Some crews are working 7/12s. I was working 6/10s. Yeah. So I'm paying a hotel, which is $400 a week, and then I'm paying my mortgage back home. I'm spending $3,000 a month just in living expenses, at least. Right. Not including food, but still there to man the work, but enough to make it to where I was able to pull myself out of the hole. I had come in from being off work. Right. So it was actually a really exciting time. It's a different mentality when you're with other people. Yeah. And really, I can't even say I'm a traveler. People do that for years. Right. And I got just a couple months on it. So I don't even consider myself a traveler. I just did it once.
Yeah.
But I loved it enough to I wanted to do it until we had a change in leadership at the local, and the way it works is whoever's the leader picks the business agents, and that's how I became a business agent. He asked me, I think, being on the school board, running for office, got some attention to some people around the local. I didn't know. I'm just doing what I thought was right, wanted to be involved with the local union and in the community, and got attention, and they asked me to be a part of it. So, okay. I mean, because that's what I wanted to do. I mean, the whole reason I have what I have, I got so lucky. I mean, other than being a white male in the Midwest, you know.
Yeah, right.
My family had good jobs. I had health insurance growing up. Like, Dad was IBEW. I've never had to worry about health by any means. I mean,
and hopefully that continues. Yes.
Yeah, like the world's been given to me because of this organization. So, even though Dad would be laid off, I know they were good enough with their money. They weren't silly with it like some people are. That if you were laid off 3 months out of the time because construction or like the economy goes tits up like it does sometimes. I mean, that is construction. There is no steady work. It's really good at times, and then it all drops. And then you just got to figure it out for decades. And just prepare for it. Yeah,
it's a little bit of a terrifying prospect, but it's something that I think you have to just be prepared for, and it's something that the unions help prepare you for overall. But I think where you've come from and where you're going maybe are aligned in certain ways, but I'm curious if you have any solid plans for what's next, because you're recently married. Beautiful, insane wedding in Los Angeles. Just like, holy crap, man. Cheryl and I had gone to her cousin's wedding in Malaysia.
Yeah, that sounds
and it was
awesome.
Bonkers, like crazy. I was like, what is going on? Like, is this normal? And then I go straight into LA to yours, and I'm just like, round two? Like, it's Asian weddings, maybe. I don't know what it is.
I think it is. Those guys party nonstop. Yes. I'll say that, though.
Yeah.
We're there at our parents' house. Whenever we are there, it's a party for some reason. I was like, what's going on? Whatever.
You're over. Why not?
Yeah, we just invited everyone. I was like, okay, cool.
But it was a blast, man.
I appreciate it.
And I really appreciate being a part of that, because
happy to have you
it was just so it was so cool to be a part of a multicultural wedding. Like, I've gotten the chance to film and photograph a lot of those, and it's just a blast every time, because it's the fusion of two totally different cultures. I did an Indian Korean fusion wedding late last year, and it was fascinating.
That sounds wild.
Yeah, so they had a whole
was it 3 days instead of 7?
No, it was a single day kind of thing.
Single day?
Yeah, they were coming in from California, actually, because their family's Maryland based, but they were currently residing out in Cali. But they had a whole, I think it's called a barat, where the groom rides in on a horse. So I'm in downtown Baltimore, and this guy is on a white stallion on the sidewalks outside of the hotel. I'm like,
so cool.
What is going on? But it was really cool. So getting to experience that for a friend of mine, I was just like, man, this is sweet.
No, we were happy to. First, we were like, we want John to video it. It was like, you know what? I think he just needs to be a part of it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I've gotten the chance to do that a few times, but getting to be in the party, that's fun. So, but that's new for you, and I think this advocacy work is second time up here in DC doing this. But if you had to kind of look out, what maybe what's on the horizon, if you have some ideas about where you want to take these next 5 years.
Man, really, I would just. So there's always been, in my mind, some deficiencies with the local, which is fine. Because these are just construction workers trying their best. I mean, I'm very fortunate to be this young and in this position. These guys that normally get it are 45, 50.
Are you the youngest there in your?
Very.
Yeah.
I think I'm the youngest in the history of our local.
Oh, wow.
To be in this spot. So, I mean.
Need a little badge.
Yeah. Yeah. They'll just make fun of me more. So, I mean, like, it's the tech being up to date. Like, I mean, our website, and probably till a few years ago, looked like something we did when we were kids in the 90s. I mean, it was terrible.
Yeah.
It's like, we build $1 billion projects, but we can't have a website for some reason, And so it's like, all right, if we're gonna play with the professionals, we need to present ourselves as ones.
Exactly.
So one, it's revamping. So we have pitch decks now, revamping the webpage. But really, for me, it's also politically, kind of as I alluded to earlier. We've always known for a while that our membership is Democrat and Republican, which is fine. It's perfectly fine. People have their own reasons to vote for, but it's the only problem it comes is when it hurts themselves. And are we messaging that wrong? I mean, are we not letting them know who they vote for is voting against them as far as their pension?
Sure.
Like I mentioned, the Bitch Lewis Act. One Republican out of Pennsylvania voted for it, but they were going to cut union pensions by 50%.
Shit.
But, we might have said something to them, but it didn't resonate. We didn't hound on it. We didn't let them know, what really is going on. So the main thing I would really love to do is to revamp a messaging campaign with members and really invigorate with our youth. Our youth members used to be generational, kind of like I was. So it was instilled to me, vote for your paycheck. We've kind of gotten sidetracked as a society recently over culture stuff.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's look over here, but they're doing this to you over here.
Yeah.
And so how do I divert that attention? You can care about that stuff.
Sure.
Absolutely. I mean, talk your lungs out about it, advocate for it, but don't vote against yourself.
Right.
Say vote your vote check and advocate for your beliefs.
Yeah.
That's what I say at every meeting that I go to.
Say that one more time. I like that.
Vote for your belief. What did I say? Vote for your vote for your paycheck, but advocate for your beliefs.
Gotcha. That's a good one.
And so, and I say that because one, you have to support you, your family, and just, we call each other brothers and sisters in the union. So support them and their families.
Yeah.
That's really where we need to get going. But to the youth, they don't read papers. That's how we've done stuff. Here's the labor paper.
Yeah, it's not going to get, eyes aren't going to touch that. Yeah.
Right?
Recycle.
And so,
trash.
yeah, like, ew.
Yeah.
So, as a person myself, I'm clickbait, titles, headlines, what is that? So now we have to get into that game.
Right.
Well, now that game gets a little weird because of political issues. So like a union can message to its members all at once.
Right.
But if I have to get into the digital space, well, now I'm in the general public.
Right.
That becomes PAC money. Then that becomes a funding issue.
Ooh.
So how do we revamp and how do we reframe the message to where you identify as a worker? Whether you're in construction or not, are they looking out for you and your best interests in the future?
Yeah.
I mean, we may not give the most money, but we are the people. I mean, we are the nation. We are the one who votes. We are not a corporation with more money than most countries. I mean, like, it's asinine almost.
Little year-end bonus for the top.
And I'm like, cool. Like, shit, I wish I was rich too. If I could do it, I would. But
right.
There's just got to be, I don't know. I just can't. I'm just lost sometimes. I'm like, how much they just don't care sometimes, or they do, and it just gets lost halfway down. Right. I don't know.
Right.
I mean, there's so many variables at it. That's why it needs to be in law. And so, how do we make sure those assurances are there, and how do we communicate to our members what's really going on? Yeah. So that's really the next 5 years project. Yeah. And I mean, if I get that solved, then I don't know what to do because that's all I really cared about.
Yeah, right. Well, you got your work cut out for you. I think, that you're hitting it on the head though. We're in such a mobile age, we're in a digital age. And like I said, my dad talks to me all the time about these ideas. He's on the Sewer and Water Committee in Salem.
Yeah.
And he wants to, he's an analytical guy, so he's running number. He's what is your electric bill and how can you reduce it? And he's got all these great ideas and he wants to put it in the paper. And I'm like, Dad, You gotta find another avenue.
It is dying.
You're speaking to your 60 plus audience at that point, I would say. Maybe a little younger. But, I think you,
even then,
at your young, but with your young voice, with your foot maybe in kind of both worlds, having the legacy of the union as part of your upbringing, but also being a part of our generation where these cell phones have taken over the world, you kind of get it, I think. And that's such a valuable place to be, especially where you're at in your position, because you can look back and look forward and say, look, this is where we need to go if this is going to work.
Yeah.
So, but that's cool, man. That's a big project, but I know if anybody's up to it, you're the dude.
I appreciate it. And it's a challenge because, you being the youngest, you also have the old folks who are like, well, that's not how we did it in the past. I was like, well, that's why we're here, brother. Yeah. So, but it's fine. I mean, it's sometimes I get too forceful or like, all right, this is what we got to do.
Sure.
But, I don't do my due diligence. Just like,
all
right, that's how I came to the conclusion, so on and so forth. You
right.
know, but I'm like, all right, here we go. Yes or no? No.
Check it.
Shit.
Damn it.
All right, well, there went 9 months worth of work.
Right.
So, it's also learning how to work generationally too. Because those are members, but I mean, I feel like the people that are in their 40s, they made up their mind.
Yep.
It's really got to talk to the new guys. And then I got to plan 10 years out from that.
Yep.
And then that's when you start to see some change.
Yep.
So, that's kind of the goal. But again, this position is an elected position, so I could be back in the field, which is fine.
Yeah.
With all the work coming, I'll be making more money anyway. So.
Right. Not a bad thing. Not a bad thing.
So it's you do what you can while you're here.
Yep.
This is absolutely not a forever position. So, you just make the best of it in your time, and then when your time's done, and you go back out and you're an electrician again.
Yep.
That's I think a lot of people can lose sight of that. They just get ahead of themselves, but they lose sight.
Sure.
I think a lot of the people we've had in our unit have been good about not doing that, but I can see that easily becoming a problem. But you're just another worker.
Yeah.
You're just another person, another part of the cog, and you're just doing your best to make it best for everyone.
Yeah.
So that's the goal.
There we go. Well, I appreciate your voice on this topic. I mean, every time I sit down for one of these, my goal is to learn something. And I've learned from you here today, even historically, there are little tidbits here and there. And I if we sit down and talk about this more, I'm sure that more details will come out. Because you're, I think, a consummate professional in this space, and people who are unfamiliar with it need voices like yours to help inform them. So thank you.
Appreciate it. No, thank you.
But the wealth of self, I like to end on these questions, but it's about lessons learned. And you and I are only at 30, so it's kind of like, it's maybe hard to look back.
Yeah.
But, when you think about where you're at in life and the good and the bad and all the in-between, what has wealth meant to you up to this point?
Wealth, man, I don't even know if I even know that answer quite yet.
Maybe not. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would love a Dodge Viper and cool house, and I can go on vacation all the time I want. I mean, to me, that's my wealth I want.
Sure.
But I would say I don't know if I'll even have that answer 5 years from now, 10 years from now. I mean, it's always growing. Being with Jasmine and, being happily married, it's like, honestly, I could be fine wherever I'm at, honestly. As long as it's not too bad of a spot. But, I mean, I think that's just it. It's just, I'm not trying to go too far. I'm not trying to go too below. I just want easy.
Sure.
If I can make it easy where I can put myself in a situation where I'm not financially struggling.
Sure.
People say money doesn't buy happiness, but I think it's conducive.
Sure, absolutely.
And I mean, if I'm not stressed out about money, which I have been for years up until recently, I hated it.
Yeah, I mean, they put a number, I think it was, this is 5-6 years ago at this point, but it was 75 or 77,000 US dollars was where people could stop like freaking out. Where it was like, am I okay? Like, is
Am
it
I gonna
gonna
make it?
I mean, I think that's still depending
Yeah.
on where you're at in the country.
It
Like,
depends on where you're at.
sure, yeah. I mean, in
absolutely.
Salem, Missouri, 77 is a great salary.
Doing well, boy.
You're 3 times over the average, or something terrible like that. But I think, yeah, the monetary aspect of being able to have that security in your life, to know that you're taken care of and the loved ones who are in your life are taken care of, is so valuable. And, you know, the other thing that I heard all the way through your story was just your advocacy. I mean, I think you want people who are like you and are the backbone of this nation to have a good life and to be secure and know that, you know, if something goes wrong or the world comes your way and it puts you on your butt for a minute, got your back.
Absolutely. And, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's going to be cheesy. Just do what you love. I mean, working in the construction field was not what I love. I mean, I don't like working out in the snow and the heat, but
Sure.
I mean, this position is much more in tune to what I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
I work 50 to 60 hours, but I'm fine with it. You know,
Sure.
start at 7, sometimes get home at 11. You know,
Yeah.
it's whatever, but I enjoy it. But yeah, I would say just to make life easy.
Yeah.
That'd be a wealth. That'd be wealth. I mean, it's not wealthy, but it's wealth.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. We can all strive to do that. Take some of those elements that cause stress or anxiety and try and navigate away.
Just try
from
to
some of those
navigate, or
things.
you know, put a plan forth.
Yep.
To see what happens, and you know, don't be too scared to not do something that you think if something's not working, you got to change.
Yep.
I mean,
Absolutely.
don't just keep doing the same old.
Yeah. And as a closing note, you made a mention before we started recording, or maybe we were, I don't know, but you know, take a leap of faith. I mean, your run for office, your decision to buy a home at such a young age, you know, your decision to be a part of this IBEW lifestyle. I mean, all of it took a little bit of a nudge, and it's like, hey, I'm going to do this, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But
yeah, I mean, I was scared shitless of all of it.
Yeah.
But you know, taking the position, I never had a professional role like this before.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess in a sense when I was elected school board, but I also didn't know about school board as you don't know until you get into it.
Sure.
But like going out and speaking in front of people, they're asking me school policy questions. I was like, I'm going to give you what I think is the right answer. And, you know, it worked out well, but it's whatever seems too scary that would hold you back, it's never as bad as it's going to be.
Yep.
I promise that. The hardest part's just taking the first step.
Yep.
And then after that, it's pretty smooth sailing.
Yes, sir.
There'll be a couple bumps, but keep going.
Well, Wade, I appreciate your time. We're pretty late. You got an early flight.
Yeah.
So we're on our way to LA together.
Yeah.
And this is to celebrate another good friend. So he's tying the knot here in May, and we're doing rodeo round 2 here. So
Yeah, absolutely.
happy to be on the journey with you again. But it's going to be a blast.
Yeah.
But
Same here.
I appreciate the time, of course.
No, thank you.
And I'm just excited to share the message. And even though, as we said many times, you're early in the journey, there are people out there who are you know, they need to hear that from you and about your, you know, experiences and especially your knowledge on the union. I think that's going to be immensely helpful for some people who are maybe like, you know, trying to toss around that idea about what they would like to do.
Yeah.
And hopefully this informs them a little bit.
I hope so. Just at least a little bit.
Yeah,
But
man.
yeah. Well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
It's been great, and always love coming to DC to hang out with you. That's for sure.
Heck yeah. Thanks, man.
Yep. Thank you.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in on this episode of The Wealth of Self. As always, your viewership is immensely appreciated. If you want to take it a step further, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you are among the first people to know when new content is released onto our channel. Additionally, this is all about hearing voices. If you have any questions, anything that really resonated with you during this episode, leave a comment down below. I'm very eager to hear your voices and your thoughts. Until next time, Thanks for watching The Wealth of Self.